Thank you, Christina. I'm Meghan Duffy, and I will be discussing recommendations to avoid another corporate groupthink, such as the LBJ administration and the Vietnam War. As we know from the book, Working in Groups, Communications, Principles, and Strategies by Engelberg and Wynne, published in 2017, Irving Janis defined groupthink as a mode of thinking that people engage in when they are deeply involved in a cohesive in-group, when the members striving for unanimity override their motivation to realistically appraise alternative course of action. Groupthink refers to a deterioration of mental efficiency, reality testing, and moral judgment that result from in-group pressures. According to the article Groupthink by Anna Schmidt in the Encyclopedia Britannica on May 26, 2016, the concept of groupthink was first discussed by the psychologist Irving Janis in 1972 in his study Groupthink, a psychological study of foreign policy decisions. He delves into foreign policies such as Pearl Harbor, the Bay of Pigs, and the Vietnam War. Many political decisions and actions have been influenced and fell victim to the concept of groupthink, the Vietnam War in specific. Groups tend to fall victim to groupthink because these decisions are very easy and far quicker to make. Groups that come to decisions quickly do not have to resolve as much conflict as they would if they discussed all the possible options, creating a groupthink environment. According to the article Military and Diplomatic Course of the Vietnam War by David L. Anderson, published in 1999, Lyndon B. Johnson stated in the National Security Action Memorandum 273 that the U.S. goal was to assist Vietnam in its contest against the externally directed and supported communist conspiracy. When it comes to the issue of the Vietnam War, the groupthink at work here is that the leader, President Lyndon B. Johnson, wanted to send troops to Vietnam because the threat that South Vietnam was becoming a communist nation. His idea was that if they sent more troops than they needed, then there would be a quick fix to the problem and the threat of communism would be washed away quickly and effectively. LBJ was very strongly and openly against communism, which gives him even more of a desire to dive into the Vietnam issue. By LBJ having such strong beliefs and attitudes towards this issue, it made the politicians and government succumb to groupthink. Other politicians didn't want to go against what he was saying and didn't talk about the scenarios that could arise from this conflict. There are many ways in which the U.S. government could have avoided this conflict or gone about it in a different way, but instead they fell into groupthink. Many people would assume that groupthink could not happen within a group of highly intelligent people, but this is often the exact setting in which these issues tend to arise. With a group of high-ranking and important people, there is a feeling that a decision needs to be made, and the importance of a decision can be intimidating to a group of individuals. Engelberg and Wynne give many examples of how to avoid groupthink. One great way is for groups to avoid groupthink is by having a devil's advocate, a person who can give insight to another side of an issue and make points to disagree with the subject at hand. This is a great technique for groups to see the opposing side to a situation and thinking about other possible outcomes. Another effective way is for groups to avoid groupthink is by making sure that the leader in the group stays neutral until everybody in the group can express their feelings and ideas about a decision. If the leader becomes more favorable to an option, other members may feel pressured to agree with that decision and come to a unanimous decision before all options can be weighed out. This leads into letting members talk openly and freely about feelings and thoughts about a specific action. If members feel intimidated and not heard, they will gravitate towards the majority opinion. Lastly, another great option is by getting input from someone else outside of the main group. This can be very effective for getting more feedback and a different perspective. There are many ways in which groupthink scenarios could be avoided. As I stated earlier, there are several effective ways in which groups can avoid groupthink. The Johnson administration made a quick and easy decision to a very difficult problem. One recommendation that we have is by having more levels of discussion throughout the government to discuss whether getting into a conflict is the best decision or not. By having different levels and more discussions, there are more opinions and ideas to consider before coming to a final decision. Each level of government should have a designated leader, and those leaders can then discuss what their groups came up with, and again have more of a discussion and think about all the possible outcomes and consequences. This also gives more of an outside review of the action. In the particular case of the Vietnam War decision, had there been more levels of government besides basically the President and Congress, there could have been more people to speak up and give input and ideas, such as a constructive nonconformist. A constructive nonconformist being a person that resists conforming and alerts members of problems that can prevent a group from achieving the common goal. This could also be thought of as the devil's advocate. Another important way for groups to be effective and productive is by following the 5M leadership model. Model leadership: motivate members, manage group processes, make decisions, and mentor members. By following this model, leaders and group members can have more cohesive discussions and have better teamwork throughout the decision-making process. With these recommendations, we believe that groups can easily spot groupthink and know proper ways in which to avoid it and come to a better solution to a problem with knowing all aspects and possible consequences. Thank you.